Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. The first story is from Ahmed. It was a cold December night. People used to shut their doors and windows as soon as the sun went down. Nobody used to go out at night. They fear there might be robbers, or maybe some animal might come from the jungle nearby. No tragedy ever occurred, but still the village people used to take these precautions. They used to go to their beds as the sun set and get up when light hit the surface of Earth. Living in that village, I was supposed to follow the same rules. Go to bed in the evening and get up early in the morning to go help my father with the livestock. It always bothered me. I used to lay in bed with my eyes wide open. I used to think of reasons why people don't go out at night. What would happen if I ever did go out at night? Is it safe? How does the village look at night? All these questions used to wander in my mind, and it made me really curious. I wanted to go out and look. I wanted to explore. One day, while doing my father's chores, I talked to my friend Khaled. He was the son of another farmer who happened to be my father's close friend. Our farms were right next to each other, and Khaled used to perform the same duties that I did. We went to fetch some water for the livestock, and on our way, I told Khaled my plans. "Let's sneak out and explore the village tonight," I said to Khaled. "But isn't it somehow forbidden?" he replied. "Well, technically there ain't any punishment for that," I told Khaled. "Also, we'll never get caught, so no one will know. And that's the fun part, which is making me curious," I added. "Okay, but how and when?" asked Khaled. I told him that I'll meet him by the village's grocery store at 11, because at that time the whole village is sound asleep. He agreed, and all our plan needed now was execution. I excitedly went to bed and was thinking of what I'll be doing and waiting for time to pass. The time on my watch was 15 minutes to 11 when I got up. I slowly opened the door and sneaked out of my house. When I reached the store, Khaled was not there. I waited and waited. I started to lose hope that he will come, when suddenly I saw his hand waving at me. Finally, Khaled and I started our tour of the village. It looked so different. The cold air was making my hands numb. There were light showers of rain coming down. I was so happy. It felt like freedom. Khaled and I sang songs and kept walking. It was until we took a right from the main road. There was a very small street. It was not even a street, more like a passageway connecting the backs of houses. We took a turn, and there stood a girl. She had long golden hair, which was caressing her blush pink cheeks. Adding color to her pale yellow skin tone, she had a sleek and tall body, which was leaning towards the wall. Her arms were folded, and she was wearing a bright pink velvet dress. The dress had colorful stones embedded on it, and she was the prettiest girl that I'd ever seen. Except her eyes, which were staring far into the distance. For a moment, I stood there and watched her, trying to figure out who she was. The village we live in has a total approximation of about 500, so you pretty much know everyone. She didn't seem familiar at all. Such a pretty girl in our village? A big no. Khaled was struck by her beauty as well. I took Khaled by his arm and dragged him. The passageway was so small that as we passed her, my arm brushed against hers. We passed in silence. It all came crashing down when I turned around to see her. She was still standing in the same position, her face towards the other side and her body still in the same angle. "Khaled, run!" I shouted. By that time, Khaled was aware of the situation as well. Both of us ran in the other direction. The passageway took a left and we kept running. After almost 2 minutes of continuous running, Khaled screamed. "Look!" he shouted. There she was. Again. Same posture, same position, same dead eyes. How did she get there? There was only one answer. She was not normal. Khaled and I knew that we could not run back. We knew we were stuck. The only way to get home safely was if we ran by her side. We closed our eyes and ran in the same direction. Once again, I passed her, and as soon as my skin touched hers, I felt shivers go down all over my body. It was terrifying. Both of us came home and went to our beds. The next day, we woke up with heavy fever and severe body ache. The doctor came and prescribed us bed rest for 2 weeks. We never spoke about the incident with anyone, not even ourselves. We figured out why people act the way they do. I got all the answers to my questions that night. Our village is a completely different place at night. The second story is from Monica. I love rain. I love winters. Both combined, well, that's a feeling like heaven for me. The sound of rain takes away all the negativity that hinders my self-growth and fills me with positivity. I'd been going through a lot of mental health issues and post-traumatic effects when my boyfriend died because of cancer. He was all I had. He was my family, my friend, and my everything. Days went by and by. Every passing day it felt more harder to cope up. I was standing in my balcony with a cup of coffee in my hand, drowning my sorrows with every sip that I took. Suddenly, a drop of rain fell on the floor. It started to rain. I felt happy. After many months, I actually smiled. I left the hot cup of coffee on the balcony, took my coat, and headed out for a walk. I love to go for walks in the rain. I felt as if the negative thoughts were automatically leaving my body as I took steps into the pouring rain. It was cold and people were running here and there to find something that would shelter them from the rain, while I was walking in peace. I walked and came to the beach close to my house. The cold breeze and the rainwater made me so happy. The rain had stopped. I got a hot cocoa from myself from a cart and sat on a bench while watching the sunset. It was a beautiful sight. I sat there for more than half an hour. Finally, the warmth that I was getting from my cup was long gone, and I was frozen. I finally decided to get up and go home. I thought that walking would be a bad idea, and it was very cold as well, so I decided to call an Uber. I put my hands in my pockets and realized that I had left my phone at home, on the balcony. I got so excited when it started to rain that I forgot my phone there. I had to walk again for almost 5 kilometers in the cold weather. I started to walk. With every step, the cold air would pierce through my skin. My clothes were soaking wet as well. I was sure that I would get sick now. I'd walked for almost 3 to 4 minutes by the beach when I saw a little boy. There were no people in that area as it was a rainy winter night. I could hear the horns of vehicles passing by the road. Sometimes their headlights shining in my direction made it clear to see. The little boy was almost 5 years old, maybe 6, but no more than that. He had beautiful green eyes and blonde hair. The thing that took me by surprise was that he was naked. He was wearing nothing at all. The little naked boy was sitting in the sand with his head in his legs. I went closer. "Hey, bud, you okay?" I asked. He did not reply. "Where are your parents? Aren't you feeling cold?" I asked again. This time he looked up at me, then pointed towards his right. I looked over in that direction that he was pointing. There was nothing but darkness. It was pitch black. "Are you lost?" I asked again because I was actually worried about him. He kept staring at me. I wanted to give him my coat and cover him, but it was drenched in rainwater. It was of no use. "Do you know where you live?" I asked him again, and this time he responded. He opened his mouth and his eyes went white. His pupils just vanished, and he spoke in a manly, yet static voice. "Play with me. I do not want to go home," he said. I took a step back and was paralyzed. I could not move a limb. I stood there wanting to run as fast as possible, but I couldn't. I was just standing there trying to figure out what was happening, when suddenly the boy stood up. He started to take steps toward me. It felt like a nightmare. I couldn't move. I let out a loud scream and fell unconscious, on the ground. Some guy who was walking by called the ambulance and took me to the hospital where I was treated. No one believed me, and doctors said that I could be hallucinating because of the cold. He said that it was a side effect of pneumonia. I stayed in the hospital for 2 days, and then I finally was discharged. It had been over a year since this horrifying event took place. The memory still haunts me to this day, and I've stopped going to that beach. I don't know what it was, but I just hope I never see it again. Thanks so much for watching, and please don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Stay safe and have an awesome day.